You've been told to dream big, hustle hard, and never settle. But what if the life you're chasing isn't even yours? In today's video, we're exploring a quiet rebellion, a shift away from urgency, noise, and expectations toward a slower, softer way of living. One that honors your rhythm, your space, and your inner world. If you've ever felt out of place in a fast-paced life, this is for you. Let's begin with a question. What does success look like when no one's watching? For years, many of us have followed a script. Study hard, get the job, climb the ladder, make money, be productive, repeat. It's a roadmap that promises fulfillment, but often delivers exhaustion. We chase titles, promotions, and packed calendars, thinking they'll make us feel whole. But what if the ladder we're climbing isn't even leaning against the right wall? There's a quiet truth many are beginning to realize. The life we were told to want might not be the life we actually need. It starts with noticing how drained you feel after a day of back-to-back meetings, how your body tenses in traffic, how your mind races even when you're supposed to be resting. And then comes the question, is this really it? For some, the answer leads to a radical shift. For others, it's a gentle pivot, a slow detachment from the noise. But the common thread is this, a desire to live more intentionally, to reclaim time, space, and energy, to redefine what a good life means. And here's the thing, that definition doesn't have to be loud. In fact, many women are finding joy in what others might call boring. Slow mornings, quiet evenings, cooking something simple, rearranging a shelf, reading a book cover to cover just because. These aren't empty moments. They're full of presence, care, and meaning. There's a kind of magic in folding laundry while music plays softly, in sipping coffee in silence, in choosing solitude not as a retreat but as a return. This isn't about escaping life, it's about finally arriving in it. But choosing slowness isn't always easy, especially in a world that idolizes urgency. We're conditioned to believe that busier is better, that being seen is the same as being valuable, that quiet lives are empty. But what if the opposite is true? What if the most meaningful lives are the ones lived gently, intentionally, and off the radar? For highly sensitive people, this shift is even more essential. Sensitivity isn't a flaw, it's a trait, one that brings depth, creativity, and empathy, but it also requires care. Crowded spaces, loud environments, constant stimulation, they can be overwhelming. And without the right tools, sensitivity can feel like a burden, but with awareness, it becomes a gift. It teaches us to slow down, to listen inward, to create routines that soothe rather than stress, to set boundaries without guilt. It's not about avoiding life, it's about adjusting to it, booking a quiet apartment instead of a noisy hotel, choosing matinee shows over late-night events, leaving the party early because your nervous system needs rest. These aren't signs of weakness, they're acts of self-respect. And they open space for something beautiful, a life that fits, a life where you don't have to pretend, where your quiet is honored, where your joy isn't measured by how exciting it looks from the outside. Because here's the truth, the loud version of happiness isn't the only one. There's a kind that whispers, that lives in small rituals, that blooms in stillness. It's the joy of walking into a clean kitchen in the morning, of watching the light shift across your living room wall, of knowing you don't have to chase anything to feel alive. And maybe, just maybe, the people we call boring are the ones living the most interesting inner lives. So, what does this mean for you? It means you get to choose. You get to define success on your own terms. You get to build a life that feels good, not just looks good. Maybe that means working fewer hours. Maybe it means saying no more often. Maybe it means spending your evenings with a book instead of a screen. Whatever it is, it's yours. And that's the beauty of intentional living. It's not a trend, it's a return to self. to the rhythm that feels right, to the space that feels safe, to the version of you that doesn't need to perform. So if you've been feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or just out of sync, maybe it's time to pause, to ask, what do I actually want? Not what looks impressive, not what others expect, but what feels true. And if the answer is slow mornings, quiet evenings, and a life that whispers, you're not alone. There's a whole world of women choosing softness, choosing presence, choosing peace. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this video resonated with you, the next one might feel like a warm cup of tea, gentle, grounding, and just what you need. Watch the next video to keep exploring your rhythm.